Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel and the Scouting for Manchester United series, where today you guys have asked me to speak about Dusan Vlahović. Now, Manchester United clearly need a striker. Slight malfunction there. Manchester United clearly need a striker, and a young striker that can score goals. You guys in the comments seem to think that Dusan Vlahović is potentially the solution to that. So today I want to talk through him as a player, talk about what he would bring tactically, whether it fits or not, some of his strengths and weaknesses. So before we actually get into that, I just quickly want to talk about the OneFootball app and some of the brilliant features that they have to offer. So let me just list through a few of them real quick. We've got player news, team news, player statistics, transfer news, league tables, match fixtures, just to name a few really good features which you can get on the OneFootball app. I use them all every week, but then of course, my favourite, highlights for the Serie A, and also a game which you can watch live for free on the app every single week. This week it is Inter against Udinese, which is another big game in Serie A which you can watch with a touch of a button on the app at literally zero cost. You really would be daft not to. If you want to check it out, then make sure to use the link in the description down below and download the OneFootball app today. So we will start off 23 years old, standing at 6'2", and currently playing for Juventus and Serbia. Now, instantly the fact that he plays for Juventus means he might be gettable for Manchester United, because we know that they are having financial difficulties. They of course recently had that points deduction, which means it's unlikely that they will have Champions League football next season, so perhaps someone like Vlahović will be looking for a move, so perhaps Manchester United could go in for it. And I mean, just off the straight from the start, you can see why Manchester United might want him. These are his stats from last season, where he recorded 24 goals from an expected goals of 17.04. Now, with expected goals, I think it's clear that I point out what my opinion on it is. Is it always a good thing for a player to outperform his XG when you're scouting someone? Well, it might sound like a stupid question, because if you're expected to score 17 and you score 24, you go, of course that's a good thing. However, what it does mean is that he's only got into 17 good goal-scoring positions, if you like. So, what happens when you see an expected goals where a player is outperforming it by so much? You have to question whether it's sustainable or not. We saw something very similar with Darwin Núñez. When Manchester United were linked with him, I done a video, it must have been around July or August, and I was saying that I didn't want him at Manchester United because he had only had one good goal-scoring season where he outperformed his expected goals. It was by even more than this, and it makes you go, oh, he's a very good finisher. But if it's only happened for one season, potentially it's a purple patch. Fortunately, with Vlahović, he has been doing this for 2 or 3 years now. The past 3 seasons, including this season, he has outperformed his expected goals. So in my opinion, this is something which we can expect him to sustain and continue. So if he was to move to Manchester United, I wouldn't expect to see a sudden drop-off in his goal-scoring ability, because I do not believe that this is a purple patch. I do think he is a very good finisher. So straight away, that is something good to look at. But of course, the modern day, strikers need to do so much more than just put the ball in the back of the net. So we need to take a look at him in general as a player. Non-penalty goals, we can see him ranking in the 82nd percentile, so that is good. However, the rest of this FBref report doesn't look so nice. Now this is just kind of the base stats which you get. This isn't an in-depth look. However, on the surface, this doesn't look too good for Dusan Vlahović. However, fortunately, he does pass the eye test. So yes, statistically it doesn't look too great. However, when you watch him, you can see a very good footballer there. And I think it is important that we take a look at both. Take a look at the stats, but also watch him as a player. When we look at the stats, one thing we need to consider is that he is playing in a poor Juventus side. Their form hasn't actually been too bad this year. However, the football that they play in terms of sustained possession, their attacking philosophies and principles aren't to my taste, and compared to someone like Ten Hag at Manchester United. I think Allegri is nowhere near that level in his possession principles and his systems and his style of play. So you have to consider the fact that Vlahović, for me, is playing in a poor side. So whilst his stats may not look too good, I actually think that he is quite a well-rounded player. And that is also backed up kind of by his heat map as well. He isn't just a box striker. This FBref report here suggests that he does all his work in the box because of the non-penalty goals being the only stat of note. However, the heat map suggests otherwise. He is a player which gets about the pitch and therefore gets involved. So again, yes, we need to take the stats into consideration. However, we can't just solely focus on them, because if not, you would write it off and say don't sign him. I don't think that is the case, because I think he's very complete and I think he would be a pretty decent signing for Manchester United. So let's take a look at how he would fit in from a tactical point of view. Well, first things first, something that Vlahović would bring to this Manchester United side is a real physicality up front. He is a player which loves a physical battle. So let's say Manchester United are being pressed high, which is often the case, and they're unable to get out of the press, which again is often the case. He is someone which you could go long to and use him as a target man. Do I think it is his strength? No, I don't think it's his preferred style of play. However, I certainly think that he is capable of doing it. So if you have De Gea, or potentially next season a better ball-playing goalkeeper, able to go long to Vlahović, he does love those physical battles with the centre-backs. Again, being 6'2" tall, he is more than happy to rough and tumble with defenders, hold the ball up and then bring others into play. So initially, that is something which he would bring to Manchester United, which potentially someone like Anthony Martial doesn't, or Rashford when he plays up front. He doesn't really give you that option to go long, hold the ball up and build from there. So that is something which Vlahović would bring, similar to Weghorst, but probably to a better level. So potentially, initially, an upgrade for Manchester United in this department. This ability to sort of be the spearhead of the team, the target man for the team, also could help on the counter-attack as well. We know that Manchester United this season are very good at getting their striker, someone like Weghorst, let's bring him into the team, dropping deeper, holding the ball up, bringing in someone like Bruno Fernandes, who then brings in someone like Marcus Rashford. Manchester United are very good at these transitions, and I think it is something which Ten Hag wants to keep next season. Yes, I do think United will have more sustained possession next year. However, I still think transitions will be important for them because transitions are such a big part of football. So Vlahović needs to come in and do a similar job. The question is, can he do it? The answer is yes. He is very, very secure from a technical point of view. He isn't the most technical player in the world. He's not Anthony Martial with his footwork in these areas. However, again, using that size, he's able to hold the ball up. But then he does have a good first touch. He does have good control for quite a big player. He can play on the turn despite his size. I wouldn't say agile, but he can turn away from players and work space like that. And then he is good at bringing others into play. He tends to keep his passing reasonably simple. Passes out wide tends to be the strategy. Probably what I would call medium length passes out wide. He isn't going to pop it off short to Bruno Fernandes all the time. I don't think that's what he wants to do at the moment. He tends to more prefer playing the ball out wide and then getting forward himself. Almost a bit Van Nistelrooy-esque at times. So that is something which could work for Manchester United, but also may not work because at the moment the striker does pop it deep. So Vlahović, it's a weird balance. It depends if Ten Hag wants to change. He could do these medium range passes out wide. I think he could improve his shorter passing. So that's kind of what we're getting at here. And again, if we go to the numbers, it does kind of back this up. In terms of his short passes completed, but also attempted, very, very low. He only attempts 7.76 short passes per game, which puts him in the 8th percentile. Now again, yes, consider the Juventus team he plays for isn't very good. However, even his pass completion, 77.8%, is only the 56th percentile. It's not dreadful, but it's not ideal. What we can see is that he ranks a bit better for his medium pass range. And actually his passes attempted medium are close in terms of the amount that he's attempting to the short passes, which is quite interesting, because that wouldn't be the case for most strikers. However, the big jump now is the pass completion rate. He is a very good medium range passer, and also his long passing isn't too bad either. So he is a player which likes to drop deep, get the ball here in these areas, play the ball wide to someone like Antony or Rashford on the other side with these, they're not long passes, these medium range passes, and then get himself forward into the box. I think that is how he would work for Manchester United on the counter-attack. On the counter, he's actually also reasonably quick. Again, standing at 6'2" tall, you perhaps wouldn't expect it. However, particularly in his early days with Fiorentina, what we would often see on the counter is that he would really peel wide into the channels and look to run in these areas. So that is potentially something which we could see again, kind of being brought back into his game a little bit for Manchester United on the counter-attack. So that is a threat he would offer. He can go in behind the defence. It's where a lot of his goals come from. However, I think more for United we would see the hold-up play, the link play. I think that's the bigger side of his game which Ten Hag would want from a transitioning point of view. Now again, the other thing that we need to talk about is what Vlahović would bring in sustained possession, because I think this is what Ten Hag and Manchester United are heading towards. A team which dominates the ball, has 60% possession plus, that is probably what Ten Hag wants. He wants control. So the question is, what does Vlahović bring in this sense? For me, he's not a linking striker like Anthony Martial. He's more of what I would describe as a box presence. A bit more of a true number 9, if you like, getting in the box because that's where the goals come from. So you're not going to find, say, Marcus Rashford has the ball on the left-hand side here. Martial will often drop deep into this area. You're not going to find Vlahović doing that sort of thing. Instead, he wants to get into the penalty area. Now, I think this could be a good thing for Manchester United, with someone like Luke Shaw on the left-hand side, and then maybe Dalot or Anthony looking for crosses into the box. Again, with Vlahovic being 6'2", he is very, very good in the air. A lot of his goals for Fiorentina and Juventus over the past few seasons have come with his head in aerial battles, which he wins quite comfortably a lot of the time. Now, yes, perhaps the standard of defending is a bit better in the Premier League. However, I still think Vlahovic would bring a real target man essence to the play in the final third. When Manchester United perhaps can't play these nice fine passes in and around the penalty area, having that big presence who's good in the air that you can cross the ball into really would offer Manchester United something different. Weghorst is doing it to an extent at the moment, however Manchester United simply aren't crossing enough. Perhaps that could change with someone like Vlahovic, who again is very good in the air. Vlahovic's desire to be in the penalty area is kind of highlighted from his goal map here from last season. We can see that he only scored 2 goals from outside the penalty area. The rest of them are either on the line of the penalty area or right in that mixer, in the central area. Again, it kind of re-enhances the fact that this is a number 9. A guy who wants to get in and around the box, in and around the goal, in and around the penalty spot. This is where he knows that goals come from. It's kind of obvious in football, but not all strikers do it. Recently, the last 10 years or so, we've kind of seen a move away from strikers which play this way. However, the past 12 months, I think we're seeing a return of this sort of striker. Vlahovic is a box presence. He sniffs out goals, he's a real poacher, his movement is very good, he's happy to be on the shoulder of a defender in his deep positions, make a quick spin, get him behind, finish past the keeper. He also loves a little lofted finish over the keeper. He will kind of do this stutter step just before he shoots, which forces the keeper into a decision, and then he's happy to lift the ball over the keeper if the keeper goes down early, or slot it the other side. Power, he kind of has every finish in his locker, and that's what I really like about him. From a tactical point of view, I think it would be quite a good signing. I think, like I said, in terms of being a target man, which you can go long to, I think that would be a good thing for Manchester United. On the counter-attack, I think he's good at linking the play. However, I think he can improve, and I think if he was to move, he would need to improve. However, we have seen Ten Hag working very well with strikers in the past, so perhaps we could see that in his game. And then in sustained possession, I like the fact that he is just someone that gets in the box. Again, it's probably not what we've seen the past 10 years in football. However, I think it's what Manchester United could do with at times. You can't always, again, defences are getting so good in these low and mid blocks over the past couple of seasons that it's so hard to find little passes in between the pockets of space. It's really hard to find. So having that ability to just put a cross into the box, a little bit old school, find the big striker, I like the idea of it, and I think it's something that Vlahovic would bring to the side. The problem, the downside on Vlahovic, because there are downsides to every player, is off the ball he isn't a player which wants to press. And that is a problem, because Ten Hag does want his side to press high up the pitch, so that is a potential problem which Manchester United need to consider before the signing. And the other thing is his injury record. The past couple of seasons he has had a problem with his groin which keeps recurring. We can see he's missed 51 days and 31 days with it, so that is also something else which Manchester United will have to consider. However, overall, I think this would be a good signing. The problem that I have in my head is that I am a person which watches Victor Osimhen a lot this season. I've really been watching pretty much every game for Napoli this season, keeping an eye on him. And I can't help but try and compare the two a little bit in my head, almost subconsciously. I just think Osimhen is the slightly more complete player. So I'm not going to sit here and say Manchester United, absolutely yes, go get Vlahovic, he is the one. I'm not at that point. However, I also wouldn't turn away from it. I think he's certainly someone that should be on the shortlist. He would probably be in my top 5 candidates for the striker position. So certainly keep an eye on him as a Manchester United fan. Watch Juventus when you can, and let me know what you guys think about him. Apart from that, that's all I've got to say for today's video. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you in the next one.